Alright, Cable Guy Ken coming to you live once again. How's everybody doing? Alright, y'all. I got a video. Now I know there's already been a lot of videos done on this knife, but I don't know that y'all subscribe to who I subscribe to and whatnot, so I'm going to do one real quick on it, y'all. I got this knife from Rob at the Gathering. This is the Haley Stroud survival knife. I know if you've seen any of the videos and you've seen the comments, or if you saw my last video, you know that this knife will not throw sparks from a ferro rod. Now, that little bit that it's doing isn't enough to light even gasoline, y'all. Now, I'm going to say this. I don't care. That's the nicest thing I can say is I don't care. And here's the reason why. A knife is a cutting tool, first and foremost. It is a cutting tool. That's what it was designed to do. Now, this knife is designed flawlessly. The shape of the handle fills your hand. Even if you've got it in a reverse grip, you want it to come up on something, it still fills every void in the hand so that it's good and grippy. Even though it's got a nice, smooth, almost polished finish to it. It doesn't have any hot spots. And I'll show you the blade here, if the camera doesn't get blinded by the sunlight. There are many, many, many Mars scratches and patinas from wood and whatnot on this knife, where I have beat the crap out of it since I got it at the Gathering, and it's still extremely sharp. I've run my finger down it like this quite a few times on a fingernail, and I feel one or two small little spots in it where it may have hit something a little bit too hard, but it didn't put a nick in it. You can just feel it drag just a little bit more where maybe that edge is going, and it's time for me to polish that edge back up on a buffing wheel. I don't use a strop most of the time. I use a real hard buffing wheel with a silver polish compound on it to just polish that edge right back up again. And when I actually sharpen it, I'll strop it, then I'll go touch it up on the buffing wheel. And it's just real light pressure on it, but it really polishes that edge up. I can polish it so smooth that you can run it across your finger and it won't cut you, but you can push it in and it'll peel the meat off. So the knife has held an edge like you wouldn't believe. It has a great deal of control to it. I mean, this is just the very, very outer bark of this mimosa, and it's nothing at all to peel off, but at the same time, if you want to get a little bit of grip in there and start peeling back bigger shavings, make sure I'm putting that actually on camera for you. You can peel them back, even using a reverse grip like this. Get in there and just whittle away. If you wanted to do some push cuts real quick, dig deep into that wood. I mean, that's almost a halfway through that wood in one big push. I mean, that's a pretty good chunk of meat out of it. And like I said, I have not touched this blade up since I got it. I have done nothing but beat on it. And when I first got it, I beat on it and put it through all kind of just torture, because I said, well, man, it won't strike a ferro rod. Are you crazy? I mean, I even said something, me and Rob both mentioned it at the Gathering when he gave it to me. I said, dude, Les Stroud, survival guy, and it won't strike a spark with a ferro rod? But here's the thing, y'all. Every ferro rod I've ever seen made comes like this. Rod, handle, striker. Now, since the sheath does not come with a loop for a fire steel, you're not going to attach the fire steel to it by itself. You're probably going to do just like I do, and you're going to keep this in your pocket, just like that. So if the need arises that I have to start a fire, look there, I have a striker with me. And just to show you y'all, this is the one I carry every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's even got pieces of pocket lint buried into it. I mean, you can see I've used that one a great deal. So the fact that it will not strike a ferro rod is a menial problem at best. I mean, the knife does what a knife is supposed to do. It will carve. You know, if you want to make notches for your traps and that kind of thing, it gets in there pretty quick. It does all that just like it should. And according to the Heli website, these little grooves up here are to give your finger grip if you've got it in this fashion, using it as a skinning knife. And it does that very well. It grips without being extremely uncomfortable. The back of the knife, if you feel it, it's actually a little sharp here and here, but the steel's just so soft that it just rolls right off on your ferro rod. But it's not so sharp that when you're doing these push cuts, you're using your thumb, it doesn't cut into your finger. So I mean, it's still extremely comfortable to use, no matter whether you're down here at the tip, or if you're all the way back here right at the hilt of the knife, or where the choil would be. I mean, either way you go, the knife is comfortable. It feels good in the hand. It's a beautiful knife. Now each one's going to be a little different because of the curly birch, but the colors in this thing, I mean, there's 5 or 6 different colors throughout this wood, from orange to almost an ivory colors. I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful knife, and in my opinion, it's well worth every penny that you're going to pay for it if you're into that kind of thing. It comes with a great made leather sheath. Of course, it's made like a lot of the Moore knives. You can order a leather sheath that is stitched down the back like this. That way it makes it ambidextrous. You can flip it around if you want to. This is totally leather. There is a little tiny piece of plastic inside of it, but it's not a really stiff piece of plastic. You can bend the sheath around, but it's just enough to keep the knife from poking through in the event that you fall on it, and it still gives the knife, you know, great retention going into the sheath. And like I said, it is ambidextrous, so you can flip it around for left hand or right hand carry, or if you're like me, you can wear it left-handed on your right side, so that when you pull it out, it's in a reverse grip. Don't ask me why. I think it's cool, I guess, but I've done that lately with a lot of my knives. I carry them in a reverse grip carry so that I can get them out in a defensive manner if I needed to. It also comes with a really cute little rag. I guess you could use this as a small washcloth. It's too thin and too flimsy to really remove any of the grit that gets on the knife, at least from the stuff like pine and, you know, the sappy woods that I have around here. It doesn't do much to clean them, but it does look cool. And like I said, you could use it as a small rag, maybe wipe the sweat off your brow or something. But that's it for today, fellas. I got a few more reviews. I think the next one I'm going to do is the Habilis bush tool. Do the review on it and on the Shark Tack sheath system that Brandon made me from Shark Tack. But I got to tell you, I mean, if you're into knives, if you're like me and you're just a knife nut, the Heli Les Stroud Edition knife is a good knife. It does what a knife is supposed to do, and that's just your basic cutting chores. I mean, it's not a big heavy knife, so you're not going to chop with it. It's not a knife that's, you know, intended to be used as a spear or any, you know, defensive weapon. It's made for cutting and carving and shaping wood, and it does that wonderfully. If you're the kind of person that takes the fire steel and takes the striker off of it and attaches it to the back of a knife sheath, carry a pocket knife or something. I mean, don't disheart the knife just because it doesn't come with a striker, because 90% of us carry some sort of pocket knife or a Swiss tool, a multi-tool, something. And if I had any rocks in the yard, I'd show you. Mike Davis has shown that even a good hard rock can throw sparks off of a ferrocerium rod. So none of that even means diddly to me anymore. I mean, the fact that a knife won't throw sparks off of a fire steel is only a problem if that's your only means of striking a fire steel. But I've always got a knife in my pocket, a good, I'll use the awl on the back of it, I guess. For this one, that'd be the best example. But I've got an awl on this little Swiss tool, and it works. It's not, you know, it's not as convenient as the striker that they put on there, and it doesn't throw as big a spark, but it works. It'll do the job. And if push comes to shove and I just absolutely positively had no alternative, and I will only do this because I know I'm getting ready to sharpen it up anyway, but if you had to use your knife to strike a ferrocerium rod and the back of it don't work, are you going to do this? Or are you going to freeze to death? Or are you going to drink the bad water instead of starting a fire with your rod? And I mean, 1 or 2 times, nominal damage on a good blade. So it's not like in an emergency situation you can't come right up to the choy here, keeping it back from your finger, and throw a couple of sparks real quick. I mean, there's just, I was under the impression when I first got the knife that if it wouldn't strike a fire steel, what good was it? And I'm sure most people probably think the same thing at first because of our mentality. But we need to get away from this mentality that every knife has to do exactly what every knife does, because that's not what it's about. It's about having a specialized tool to do a specialized job, and this tool does one special job very well. It was made for skinning and carving meat, and it does that like no other. So if you really want it, you got the money, I think you could probably pick them up for around $150 if you shop around. Definitely recommend getting it. It's a beautiful knife. Definitely lasts you for years. Cable Guy Ken here, y'all. We look for you in the next one.